it says well, on this it says I'm streaming, but on Twitch it says I'm not. So if this ends up being in it, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything until I know for eps. Okay, there we go. Let's change the name of this. Okay. Episode 7. Let's name this. What movie do I want to talk about? Damn, I probably should have thought of this before, huh? God damn. It's a movie I saw recently. Alright, at least the stream's up and going, so that's good. I apologize for the slight delays. I'm trying to get the technicalities, and since I do directly upload to YouTube, since I do upload directly to YouTube, I don't get the opportunity to edit. It just takes the straight stream and oh god, my hair, dude. This quarantine about to be the death of me. Shit. Okay. See, I need to, bare minimum, get it to intentional messy looking, you know? Sure. The fuck, my boy? Alright, what movie am I talking about? Okay, so the last episode is A Face in the Crowd. I already did that. Let me check super quickly. Sorry. Ooh, I look thick as fuck. Did I do the master? No. That's like the final boss. I can't do that. You gotta do, yes. I guess today's the day, huh? First Reformed. Did it save? Okay. So according to this, it should be... Yes, okay. We did update it. Sorry for that. We can finally start. 119 subscription days left for McAfee. Cool. Jesus. Okay. Hey y'all. It's me, Edgar O'Malley, and today I pull up the dashboard. Cool. Today we got another episode. Now I know it's Thursday, but if you were on my channel yesterday, you'll see I finally got around to uploading last week's stream archive, so things are a little crazy around here, so we're back on track. We're going to be getting into this week's episode, except on Wednesday it's just a Thursday afternoon. Try to get the archive of this to YouTube today if I can, but I guess I can't make promises anymore, as we can see. Okay, so what have I been up to the past week? I rewatched First Reformed because I think it was pretty recently they released it, a 4K version of it, like at least a few months ago, because I recall a few months ago seeing on Vudu, because I own the Blu-ray here obviously, but it comes with the digital, so I also have the digital, and for the longest time it was only the HD. Hello. Okay, this is better. I like this. Sorry if you couldn't hear. I can't tell the audio, but from what it looks like, I'm at the around 10 decibels. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, so my bad. So for the longest time, it was only up to HD, but then like a few months ago, I started seeing it was up to 4K. And First Reformed is on Amazon Prime, and they have it in 4K, so I watched it there. Literally looks no different from what I could tell. That it's a very heavily aspect ratioed up movie, so I don't know. I guess it's harder to tell when you don't have full screen. I don't fucking know. But yeah, so once we get into the topic later, if you haven't seen the movie, you can watch it on Prime. If you have a subscription, Prime, I believe, is the only way to go. You can always rent it and buy it. I highly recommend buying it. What I did is, I get way too much into this, even though we're not on the topic yet, but may as well. What I did is, I watched, I believe, yourmoviesucks.org's review of it for when he might have seen it at a film festival. Not sure anymore, but basically, I knew next to nothing about this movie, but it was from A24, so I was always really interested. But then when I saw his review, I'm like, oh shit, I'm all about it. I'm in. So I just bought it off of blind faith, and it turned out to be like literally one of my favorite movies of all time. So this is a very exciting episode. Yeah, so I guess I'll get more into First Reformed later. Anyways, besides that, I watched Heavy Metal. It's that animated movie from like 81. That has like a bunch. It's basically like a anthology movie where it has a bunch of short animations from different artists, and they're based on like the Heavy Metal magazine. And since the episode of South Park that references it directly, where Kenny's like in the girl's boobs cleavage or whatever, I wanted to see it because it literally looked like a Heavy Metal album, but like a movie. And it did not live up to my expectations at all after all these years, but it's interesting. It's decent to watch. I could think of many worse ways to spend a day, but it is not essential viewing. I'll get that out of the way. It's whatever. I gave it a 7, but it's just because of how fascinating it is to see all these different art styles and the things they do with it, but it really could have been better. In terms of playing, besides Warzone, I for some reason decided to buy COD World War II on PC, because I remember one day I bought it on PS4 at GameStop used, and I was like, alright, I got 7 days to return this. It's basically like a free rental if I do this right. So I beat the campaign, played some multiplayer, hated it, and then returned it. So I basically got a trial of it. I didn't like it a lot, but I was like, I really want a World War II shooter, and the ones on PC, they're trying to like fill that void. Like, I think it's called Battalion 1944 from that Square Enix is publishing. That game is fucking awful. I hate it. Like, I primarily use Xbox One controller when playing PC games, and that game's controller support may as well not be there, because when you plug it in, I don't know why it's like overly sensitive. I can't explain what the fuck happened, because I tried it during like its free trial weekend a few months ago, and it is I'm fighting off my demons and these sneezes, but it's like easily one of the worst controller supported PC games I've ever seen, because it has the support, but it may as well not, And there's this other game, it's a newer one. I feel like there's 2 or 3, they all look the exact same. It might have something Hell or Infamy in the name. That one just runs god awful. It is not well optimized at all. For some reason, my PC, even on the absolute lowest settings, I have a GTX 1060 in this bitch. Like, this can run shit. Don't tell me it's my PC. Like, it could not run that game on lowest settings at a steady frame rate. It was another free weekend game. God awful. And it's fucking ridiculous. I just can't get a decent World War II shooter on PC. So I was like, well, it's World War II. Like, COD World War II, I don't really like it, but it is like the thing that'll scratch the itch I have. So I decided to cave in. I bought it. It's okay now. I don't know. Like the fact that you don't have that hub, Destiny hub kind of thing that forced on you anymore. It's just straight menus. The menus are garbage. It is so dumb. I hate the layout. It's literally like if Amazon, the people who developed the UI for Amazon Prime, made a video game menu. I swear to God. But it's as a game, it's fine. You just do multiplayer war mode. Not many people play anymore, especially on PC. It's like under 1,000 concurrent players a day, I believe, and it's very passable. It satisfies my need for a World War II game at a bare minimum, but at least it works. Like when I have the GeForce optimize my game, it runs just fine. For some reason, like I know my PC can do better. Like when I tweak everything to high settings, it runs the gameplay at 60 frames, but then once you get to the cutscenes that are like in game and they get really close on people's faces, it come down to like 20. So I had to use the optimal settings that NVIDIA were setting, and then with that everything just ran perfectly. So it looks pretty close to how it looks on PS4, honestly. I mean, it's a great looking game, but it's really hard to tell the difference between console and my PC version, at least. Anyways, yeah, it's pretty good. Not great, but gets the job done. Warzone got that update. It's awful. It makes my game run like shit now. It fucking eats my fucking CPU now. I don't remember it ever being this much of an issue. So fuck Warzone. I think it's unplayable now, at least for me. And if I were to play, I'd have to play on PS4. Maybe it'll be a bit more stable. I'm not sure. But holy shit, are they fucking up this game with the PC version, at least. I don't know why. I always told myself for years, I hate PC gaming. Like when I had my PC, like actual PC for gaming a few years ago, like I got that in 2014 like, with the GTX 760. I'm like, this is literally better than a PS4. I don't even need a PS4. And then just nothing ran properly. Well, things did, but like unoptimized games are just a nightmare. They're so frequent, and you may as well buy the PS4 version that is graphically inferior, but in terms of actually being able to play superior, it looks like things haven't changed. Even with a better PC, you'll still run into these problems no matter what. I fucking hate PC gaming, so I think this is probably going to be my last effort at a gaming PC, even though it's a laptop. Like, this is the last effort. I'm going to go console again from now on, I swear to God. Especially now that consoles are getting good. I mean, if you saw that PS5 Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, like, I would be very happy to just play that with those graphics. Those are more than enough for me. In terms of frame rate versus graphics guy, it really depends on the kind of game. But I tend to be more graphics. Like The Order 1886, like that to me is like the most ideal game because it's so cinematic, and as a film major, like I love when games try to be like movies. I know epic gamers hate that shit. I'm a fucking sucker for it. I can't get enough of that shit. Jesus Christ. Like the whole letterboxed aspect ratio thing that they added means that they don't have to put as full of a 1080p resolution, but still give off the good graphic quality. It's brilliant. Like, that's such a good idea. If you're trying to convey a really good engine, that's the way to work around it. And you have the justification by saying, oh, this is cinematic. And it looks great. It looks fucking great, letterbox. I don't care what anyone says. Like, yeah, it's weird that you don't get the full screen for a game, but at the same time, like, you can still play. It is completely playable, albeit it's a pretty mediocre game. But anyways, yeah, like always been more graphics over frame rate. So hopefully consoles aren't too bad with that. And yeah, that's what I've been up to. Long tangents done. Yeah, let's get right into the news. So we got some pretty big bombshells. Let's just get right to it. The Zack Snyder cut, the Snyder cut, is going to be released next year on HBO Max. Is it called? I don't even fucking know. There's like 2 different HBO subscriptions. There's Go, Now Max, I guess. Sure, let's just say Max. I don't give a shit if I get it right or wrong. But yeah, Warner Brothers finally said, hey, it's real. We're going to put, well, they didn't say the price directly, but there's been like speculation that could be like between 20 and 30 million dollars. And the reason this is such a massive deal is because, yeah, there's been times in movie history where like a movie from the past is then able to be like touched up or finished by the directors to fulfill the director's true vision. Like, I mean, that's the whole idea of director's cuts. But to have it not as a DVD release but come so much later, like, the only times I could think of anything near this is like the Superman 2, I believe, the Richard Donner cut of that, coming out, I believe, decades later. That is what comes to mind as the closest thing to this. But I don't think I can recall anything that's like years after the movie's finished and released that they give the original director the chance to add, like, they're giving this millions of dollars, which means they're basically making I don't even know what to call this, I don't know, director's cut, but like, it's not really a cut, because with director's cuts, they usually tweak scenes that they already had or shot prior to the movie's release. And this is kind of that, but the fact that they're adding movies or adding a budget to this means that they're, maybe the stuff they already shot, they're going to add CG to it. So to me, that's the part where it doesn't count as a normal director's cut. But you could make the argument that's a normal director's cut, that yeah, Zack Snyder's going to have stuff he shot. But there is also, I believe he said somewhere that like they're going to try to get all the original actors together to do a new dialogue, or possibly even, if they can, have shots of them, add new shots with them to like add to the tweaked story. So this is way more than just a director's cut. And this is so significant because this is, as I've said, I don't think there's a precedent to this. This could change a lot of things. Like, this is a great start for comic book movies. I mean, this is probably going to be seen at least one more time in comic book movies. I don't know when. But, like, think about any other movie where a director's vision is just... And then with just fans clamoring for years and years, the studio will cave in and let the director do what they have to get their true vision out there. And it's phenomenal. This is a victory for the auteurs out there, if you will. Because, like, Zack Snyder's finally going to get to have the movie envisioned with a budget and everything. Like, that's crazy. That's fucking insane that they're even doing this. Like, at most, what I expect them, like, they've been talking about, oh, they'll release on HBO Max for, like, months. I'm like, okay, what they'll do is just take what they have and then maybe, like, just unfinished shots and storyboards and shit. Like, they're not going to invest millions of dollars into completing it. Looks like they fucking are. That is crazy. So, I don't know if this movie's going to be good. Probably not. I'm just going to say it outright. Probably not. But the fact that we're getting is a goddamn blessing. Holy shit. So, shout out Warner Brothers. Shout out Zack Snyder. Shout out everyone who wouldn't shut the fuck up about... Oh, I have a hit. P.U. Now my mustache is so long, I keep getting hairs in it out of nowhere. Yeah, so this is a major deal, even if we don't realize it. But yeah, so Yahoo, that is a major news. And related to that is so pathetic, I just want to share it so we can laugh together, is right after this, David Ayer, the director of infamous cult film favorite Suicide Squad from 2016, also a DC movie. So yeah, right after that news broke out, he tweeted a picture of a gif of the Joker, his Joker, just sitting there looking like a dumbass. And people are speculating, like, oh, does this mean David Ayer's gonna get his Joker cut? Or like his director's cut, so that all those Joker scenes he filmed can be put into the movie? It's not fucking happening. Nobody wants this. Nobody cares. He's only riding the coattails and desperate for attention. Like, if he gets one, could I have one? Ooh. They said, fuck you. Fuck your Joker. Nobody wants to see that motherfucker. Like, the fact that they say, oh, we filmed a whole movie's worth of Joker scenes, and you only showed 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes are the worst 10 minutes I've ever seen in a movie. Like, do we really want to stretch that out? I don't know. But David really wants to ride the coattails of Zack Snyder. He wants this attention, and I think it's fucking hilarious. It's so pathetic. Like, it's adorable. Aw, David Ayer, I want to hang with the big boys too. Aw, little bitch. And another thing related to the Snyder Cut is that they're saying it could be a 4-hour movie. And a lot of people have been speculating that instead of being an actual just straight 4-hour movie, what they'll do is take the 4 hours and split into like 1-hour segments, like what they did with the extended edition of The Hateful Eight with Netflix, where there's the 4-hour cut and it's divided into 4 episodes that were about an hour long each. And that's if you're gonna release, so that's AOA. That's a suggestion, a method, and I support it. So I hope they do that hourly release, because it makes it much easier for people to consume, because a lot of people missed out on The Irishman because 3.5 hours it's just too long. I can't do it. Give me my TikToks, And yeah, that's all I have to say. Cool. And another interesting tidbit I wanted to touch up on is audiences in a new survey have said that 70% of audiences prefer to watch new movies at home and not theaters. So now that this pandemic has given us a taste of a digital life for cinema, I think people like the taste. They're like, well, this is great. I don't gotta do shit. I could sleep on the couch, wake up on the couch, eat on the couch, shit on the couch, grab the remote, and just watch new movies on the couch. I don't even gotta go outside. I don't even have to get off the couch to watch a new fucking release. And the idea, that is a novel, cute idea. But it's just like this, the whole AMC being Eric Andre and shooting Hannibal and saying, how could my company be failing? And Hannibal's just Universal Picture Movies. Like, movie theaters, they're in trouble. But drive-in theaters, I think, are going to be just fine. Because, for example, I live in northern Illinois. And I believe, from what I saw, there's only 2 drive-in theaters in like the northern half of Illinois. One of them I'm like an hour away from. It's called the McHenry Outdoor Theater. They opened 2 weeks ago. And what they're doing is they have limited spaces. It's like instead of having 2 cars at one post, they have 1 car at a post. So all the cars are spaced out. They say a lot of regulations. Like, we have a cart of limited selection of food and snacks that you can get. Will come to you. If you're going to have the hood up or windows down or whatever, if you're outside of your car, wear a mask, shit like that. So they're on top of things. They're making sure the employees and guests are as safe as possible. And they've been a massive success. Like, it's gotten to the point that the day they opened, they caused a road blockage from all the traffic. So since it's a drive-in, if you don't know, they open around like what? Around sunset. So I don't fucking know. Let's say it's between 6 to 8 p.m. ish, whatever. This is when they start selling tickets and opening up so people can go in. People are lined up since 11 a.m. that day they opened. I believe that's still the case, actually. Every weekend they play movies, and it's still like that many people lined up. But it was really bad the first day, where they blocked roads and the cops had to escort people out, and they had to let, like, the theater had to start letting people in fucking 10 hours in advance to their showing. It's crazy. And so based off of this, like, even though they're only showing super old movies, like, they do double features. For example, when they first opened, they did I don't remember, but the second weekend they did Billy Madison, Tommy Boy. I really wanted to see that, but I'm not driving all the way there for that. I own Billy Madison. I don't have to, but like, people want this. Even for old movies, it's still the idea of going out and seeing a movie on a big screen will always be a thing. But the big theaters like AMC and shit just fighting the inevitable, trying to be like, oh, theaters forever, fuck digital, fuck Universal. Like, that's not the way to go. Look at Blockbuster. They fought Netflix is like, bro, join me in the dark side. And Blockbuster's like, nah, I'm good, we're doing fine. There's only one in the world now. Netflix fucking dominates the world. There's only one Blockbuster in the world. There's only one world, and it's Netflix. And so based off of that, like, it's just really interesting. And a lot of people do support the idea of watching at home, but that does not mean that theaters are going to die. But theaters are only looking at the negatives and thinking we gotta fight to survive, but their fighting is misguided. Like, the whole, oh, fuck Universal, like, that's only gonna kill. You're an idiot, AMC. I'm gonna be unemployed for even longer than I thought because of your dumbass ways. Jesus Christ. And yeah, so just let me know what you guys think in the chat or the comments below, wherever you're watching this, about, like, what do you guys think about theaters? Would you be willing to go back once things start opening up, or would you wait until things are way more stable? Are you even ever going to go to a theater again? What? Okay. If you didn't hear that, my bad. Basically, who knows how long that went on recording. Fuck. This goddamn cable is gonna be the death of me. What did I say? Oh, if you haven't seen it, you can watch it on Prime, rent it, buy it, or other ways. You do you. Or if you don't care, or if you have seen it, then hang out here and let's talk about it. So, the film is about Reverend Tuller, played by Ethan Hawke, who is a... What the fuck is the proper term? Pastor? Clergyman. Reverend. He's Reverend Tuller. Fucking duh. So, Reverend Tuller works for First Reformed, a small old church that's hundreds of years old, that's preserved and basically a part of this larger branch called Abundant Life. They're like a more corporate, modern style church, but they're basically keeping this old church alive. So just from that alone, you get the idea of old versus new, tradition versus progress, purity versus capitalism, shit like that, just from the two churches alone. And so basically the story is that this reverend works in this church, and one day he is told, hey, by Amanda Seyfried, hey, my husband's kind of going through shit. He wants to talk to you. So they talk, and then he's a very, very troubled man, worried about the environment and shit. He's like a political activist. And some shit goes down, and it basically drives Ethan Hawke mad. This is a Paul Schrader movie, after all. You know what you signed up for. And this, right off the bat, I'm going to say, it's Paul Schrader at his very best. This is a culmination of everything he's accomplished. For example, the signature style of... Because he wrote Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, amongst other things, but... He, with those movies, or more specifically Taxi Driver, he established himself as a guy who's good at writing anti-heroes with a lot of inner monologues in the form of them writing in journals and shit and telling us their thoughts through that. And so this movie is peak Paul Schrader. Has that as a main protagonist dude who's lonely and like kind of going against the world over time and losing his sanity, and it's great. I mean, that was just his writing, because when he wrote Taxi Driver was part of that ushering in of a new era of cinema where it wasn't glamorized and glitzy anymore like it was in the golden age. This was when it was dark and gritty. The world was a shit place, and the films reflected that. Everything was dark, and if you look at 70s cinema, it is fucking ugly. It always looks brown and like dark shades of colors. Everything's just fucking ugly, and the themes of the movies reflected that. And this film really feels like it's a product of someone who ushered in that era. It continues it in a modern lens beautifully. Now, what else? I just freeball these, by the way. I don't usually, sometimes I have a list of things I want to talk about, but this one, you guys literally saw me in the beginning, like, well, what do I want to talk about? I'll talk about this. So, pardon me if my thoughts go nowhere at times. So, I guess we could start by talking about Ethan Hawke in this film. Now, Joaquin Phoenix and Daniel Day-Lewis are like my favorite actors of all time. Ethan Hawke is literally a godsend. I mean, if you watch the Before trilogy, Gattaca, he's fine in Gattaca. He's not that great in that. What Midnight Mystery? What the fuck was it called? Mystery Date. I think that's what it was. Mystery Date. It's one of his earlier roles. Like, this dude's... Is it really that windy outside? Anyways. Like, this dude's really talented at playing naturalistic performances, because I actually, for one of my acting classes, I wrote a paper about Ethan Hawke and analyzing his acting. Something that I notice is that when it comes to acting, especially like awards accolades, they reward people who give like over the top performances, very acting. Like for example, Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. He dramatically loses weight. He goes crazy. Goes stupid. And he gets the Oscar. Leo DiCaprio eats a bear's heart or whatever the fuck it was. It gets in a horse's carcass and shit. Like, people go brazy to get that Oscar to show I'm a good actor. A good performance is not the same as good acting. When you move around a lot, that's a performance. Think about it. When you go to a concert and they're singing and doing their dancing and flashing lights and shit, that is called a performance, because performance usually equates to spectacle. Lots of movement and shit. So that's why Ethan Hawke is never really considered a good performer, because he plays things so naturalistic. Okay, the audio's still picking up great. And because there's a lot of schools of theories on cinema about if cinema should be portraying life or reality in a hyper way, like portray hyper reality, and there's some that believe it movies have to portray life as realistically as possible as it is. And a lot of people tend to, even if they don't know or don't know anything about film theory, they tend to champion a highly stylized reality. That's why, like, for example, in comedies, one that comes to mind in particular that it pissed me off to a degree is Tag, where everything's so surreal, in the sense that, like, they're able to break into these houses, cause massive amounts of damage, and they never have to pay for anything. These things can just happen without consequence. In the real world, obviously, they'd have to make a claim with the police, this, that, and this and that. And so, like, oh, give me a second. Somebody might be walking into the house, so I'm gonna mute myself for 2 seconds and do a little dance. So I'm sorry, audio listeners, if you're listening. There's just gonna be an awkward silence starting anytime now. Am I crazy? Oh no, yeah, somebody's coming in. Oh, they're taking their sweet time. Anyways, how are you guys? If you're watching this live, how are you doing in the chat? If you're watching the pre-recorded version of this on YouTube, let me know how you're doing in the comments. What's up? Okay, hold on. The devil woman is gone. See, that's the great thing about this pandemic. You're trapped at home instead of your nice, peaceful apartment. It's great. I love it. I love being here. Anyway, so... Hold on. Ooh. This just in. We can confirm there has been calzones from Aldi brought to the home. I repeat, calzones from Aldi have been brought home. If you've never had those calzones from Aldi, they're just individually packed, and they're so fucking good. I love calzones, dude. Like, there's this one place about half an hour from me that's called Macaroni and Calzone Company, something like that. But, like, It is so fucking good. And to be able to get just frozen version of calzones individually, microwave it, and taste just as good, it's fantastic. Highly recommend it. If you're in a pinch and need a quick lunch, head to Aldi and get some calzone. Why am I getting such... Okay, so my iPhone recently has been doing this thing where it keeps giving me notifications of like reminders, but at random times. Like one's even from months ago. So I don't understand how to stop that besides turning them off. But some of them I do still need. It's really inconsistent. It's bothering the hell out of me. Anyways, so people tend to like, as I was saying, tag as a specific example of a comedy film where it's a heightened reality where the rules of reality as we know it don't fully apply, but it's still in a somewhat grounded world with rules we can understand. And a majority of people tend to favor that. Now, with super ultra realistic movies, people I guess still do like that because we do live also, to be playing devil's advocate, we live in a time where like we're very nitpicky. We'll notice, oh, that doesn't look realistic. Oh, people wouldn't say that. Oh, I see that light or whatever. I see the shadow. I see the camera. Something like that. Like, oh, that brings me out of it. So they, at the same time, audiences do want something as realistic as possible, but they want the visuals to be realistic, not the actual world and acting and shit like that. I think is the best way to put it. And so with First Reformed, Ethan Hawke is such a naturalistic performer that he's never acknowledged because he just comes off as his characters are truly brought to life. And in First Reformed, he is Reverend Toller. I never ever see him as Ethan Hawke, even though he's my favorite actor. And in other movies, I go, oh shit, it's fucking Ethan Hawke. In this movie, I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking Reverend Toller. Baddest motherfucker alive. And that's why I love this movie so much. Ethan Hawke brings so much into the role by just being Ethan Hawke. The guy knows how to talk. Like, really the range of emotions just... he just talks and just passes. This is the gift shopping. We only got small sizes. I'm ordering some shirts. They should be in a couple of weeks. Oh yeah, I know that one. Just shit like that. But then there's the important times in the story where he elevates it. When he goes off on the woman, we're never gonna be anything. Not like that. But it's still like a hushed, reserved, angry way of telling a woman off because they're in church in the middle of a stairway. He's like, you want to take care of me, but you want something that's never gonna happen. And he's so aggressive to the point that makes her cry, but he's not like, we're never gonna happen like in another movie would. It's great. Or my favorite part of acting, this is the scene I analyzed in the paper I was talking about earlier, is when he gets brought into Cedric the Entertainer. What the fuck is his name? His character's name in the movie, I don't remember, but he's like the head of Abundant Life. So he's kind of like his boss in a way, I think. But yeah, so when he calls Reverend Tuller in to discuss, like, yo, your health, what the fuck are you doing? Like, if you need help, I think you should take some time off or shit like that. Or maybe that was in my script. I also wrote a script about a reverend. I might be mixing up, but he does bring him in, talk to him like with concern about his health and shit. And Ethan Hawke starts discussing with him about like, well, it's a really good scene where he's discussing about like, what is the church's role in protecting the environment, because it's God's creation. So does this not mean that the environment should be of utmost importance to us? We should protect God's creation. And then like they start like spitting out Bible verses at each other like they're fucking Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's exhilarating. But then like he just out of desperation, just, there must be something we can do. Like, it's so good. Fucking love this movie. Oh, film, bro, activate. Oh. I fucking love it. And that scene just sees a wide range of emotion, just delving deeper down and down. Like, you could, honestly, I wish, well, it's not part of the assignment, or for the part of the paper they wrote, but I'd love to just analyze that scene itself and break the beats and show the progression or regression of each character and the rising tension and shit like that. Like, this movie's just so goddamn well constructed in every way. It's insane. So, long story short, that's Ethan Hawke's acting. And don't even get me started when he sees Amanda Seyfried in the church at the end. Or right before she's going to enter the church. He just goes, he covers his mouth. He just freaks out. He's like, bitch, you ruined everything. I was going to bomb the fuck out this bitch, but your bitch ass decided to show up. Oh, it's so good. Oh, by the way, full spoilers if that wasn't clear. My bad. Might be too late. Might be too late now, but yeah, full spoilers. Fucked up. My bad. But yeah, full spoilers if you haven't seen. Well, I did mention earlier that if you didn't want to watch it, I told you how to watch it. If you don't care or already have seen it, to stay tuned. So that kind of constitutes a spoiler warning. Whatever. Anyways, yeah. So that's in terms of acting. In terms of cinematography, I mentioned the boxed aspect ratio. And normally, I always talk about how I hate it as a gimmick in movies. Like, for example, The Nightingale, a more recent one. That movie was a terrible time. Like, it was one of those movies that was talked about, like, it's so emotionally heavy because of the beginning inciting incident scene that sets the whole thing in motion. For me, I was just annoyed the whole time. But like, people talk about, that movie's so hard to watch. It's such a good movie. Like, it's not hard to watch. It's annoying. The letterboxing is so unnecessary. It just, like, the thing that filmmakers use to justify letterboxing is, it gets into the character's state of mind. It shows how trapped they are and shit like that. But it's like, that movie could have easily benefited from just being shot normally. It'd be the exact same. It wouldn't change a goddamn thing except make it easier to watch. That's the only difference it'd make. I always use Nightingale from now on as my example of how not to use Letterboxd. This, excellent ratio use, because the whole film is 90% of the time on sticks, Camera doesn't move at all. Just plop it on a tripod. Perfectly framed shots. Lots of symmetry, uses of just rigidness, and it looks beautiful. This is like if Apple made a movie, like just the whole sleek design of it all. It's so fucking well made and thought out, and the visual design. I love this movie. And so, like, the uses of movement are done when it makes sense. Like, I'm trying to think. The very first shot, it just slowly pans up while looking at the sky, and then it just pans down to show the church. It's a real ominous and spooky feeling. Ooh, this is gonna be a wild movie, huh? Oh, it sure is, buddy. And where else? There's a shot where Amanda Seyfried and him are riding bikes. It just has the camera kind of like angled upward, showing them riding bikes. So either they're following along in front of them as they're riding bikes, or they maybe have it didn't look like this, but it could be a possibility. I doubt it. They had a rig on the bike itself to show it going like as they're riding. But yeah, just like very limited use of camera movements. No handheld, no panning, no shot, reverse shot where it's like on the right and left. Maybe sometimes, but normally it's just head on. And it's... we love this movie. Good shit. Also... fuck. I guess in terms of just the story and its subject matter, like, the whole film is like... The thesis is, can God forgive us for what we've done to his creation? And it's such a invasive and dark thought, and it really got to me because the whole movie, especially like the scene where he talks with the environmental activist, once again, full spoilers, so I have no shame in just talking about everything, be warned. When he's talking with him, he's just giving all these facts that Paul Schrader found on Wikipedia or something, because he's just spitting out shit. But the reason it works is because only very few filmmakers have the ability to talk directly to the audience and forego any sense of, oh, the character's saying this. In that moment, yes, I believe the character would say it because he's such an environmental activist that he would know these stats, but it's presented in a way where it's clearly Paul Schrader just trying to get through our fucking skulls how dire the situation is. And being Paul Schrader, and for what the film is trying to tell us, it really works when he just throws cold facts that are heartbreaking, just the most morbid shit you'll ever hear. Like, in 2010, blah 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 reported that if we don't change something and fast, there will be irreversible damage to the planet or the ozone layer, something by 2015. It's like, it's 2017 and we did nothing about it. Like, holy fucking shit, that just doesn't make you want to curl up in a ball and fucking die before the planet does. Fuck, it is so morbid. And the scene is just all that, talking about, he presents his facts, and then because of the idea, he's like, how can I justify bringing a little girl into a world like this, knowing that I could have done something about it and didn't? And then you just sit there, like, God bless Reverend Tuller, he sometimes knows the right thing to say, but we just, as an audience, you sit there like, fuck, why are we having kids in this world? Fuck. But the thing is, Reverend Tuller, like, contemplates a lot of this shit to the point that it drives him mad. Like, he has the right things to say to him in the moment, but then he goes back to his tiny little home or his room or whatever. Jesus Christ, I'm a little ganthy today. And he writes in his journal, he's just thinking like, holy fuck, shit's kind of fucked out here. And once poor Michael blows his brains out, and then from there, Reverend Tuller gets access to his laptop, and then from there starts seeing all his research and shit about how fucked the planet is. And then the reveal that Bulk Industries is the number 3 most pollution producing corporations in the world. That's crazy. I went, oh shit, because Bulk Industries are the ones who are like the biggest contributors to abundant life, and therefore basically the reason that First Reformed isn't a parking lot anymore, as they've put it. That's crazy. It's like, so then because of this, like, it gets into the idea of religion being corporatized, if you will, because as I said earlier, First Reformed is an old ass church that's only kept alive by the donations of this essentially Jeff Bezos. Like, whoever played the guy Bulk, I think his last name's Bulk, but whoever played that guy
has to play Jeff Bezos in a future movie, because holy shit, he just looks like all bald white corporate men look the same, and he'd be great for it because he just plays it. Oh, I fucking hate this dude. He's such an asshole when he, like, in the scene in the diner where they meet up for the first time in person. And he's like, yeah, what the fuck is this? The First Reformed people in Abundant Life Choir went to this hippies ash pouring or whatever service. And then, like, later on in that scene, he, like, basically insinuates that he's blaming Reverend Toller for Michael blowing his brains out. It's like, oh, fuck you, man. Go fuck yourself. I hate you. And, where was I going with all this? Oh, the corporation, the corporization of religion. So yeah, First Reformed is just this modest little thing, but they're part of Abundant Life, which is a mega church. They have all the nice technology because they're talking about the 250th anniversary of First Reformed, the congregation, evacuation, manipulation, whatever the word is, of the ceremony. Let's say the big ceremony they're preparing for. So Abundant Life gets all this funding, a lot of it from bulk industries. They get this money. What do? They implement a high-end, so they pay for the First Reform's organ to be prepared, and then Ethan Hawke's like, yo, you want the consecration? That's what it is, consecration, to happen at First Reform, but there's like no seats. How are you going to fit all these people? It's like, oh, we'll just have the most important people there, and the rest of the people go to Abundant Life, and we'll live stream it. We'll have a teleprompter, a big screen up at Abundant Life showing the stream of what's happening at First Reformed. And they have such elaborate setups. It's fucking massive. And they even have like a recording, it looks like a TV studio room kind of thing, sort of, from what I recall. Like, it's so corporatized. And at one point, when we first see Cedric the Entertainer's character, he's like, First Reformed, or how are things at First Reformed, or what do they call it, a souvenir shop? And then Ethan Hawke's like, gift shop. They call it the gift shop. It's like, First Reformed is just seen as a tourist attraction, because then we also get that scene where he's doing a tour of the place, where it literally becomes a tourist attraction. He's talking, oh, yeah, this is fine china from some European place. And then the kid there's just looking, he's like, what size are these? The t-shirts. Because in one cupboard he has all this fine china that people imported in hundreds of years ago for this church. And then the other shelf right next to it, souvenirs. Buy your First Reformed hat, which, by the way, A24 has sold on their website. My friend has one. I unfortunately do not have one. But goddamn, do I really want a First Reformed hat more than anything in the whole world. And they have t-shirts, mugs, and shit. Super touristy stuff. And so then when they're walking out, you see a guy, he puts on the hat, the First Reformed hat, walks out. And it's such a slimy feeling. Like, oh, fuck, Ethan Hawke wants to be a reverend, but he's stuck being a tour guide. Fuck. Like, it's just such a, oh, what are you doing, man? feeling. And so, that's the stigma First Reform carries. It's just another economic branch for Abundant Life, if you will. They probably get a majority of the profits from the gift shops shit that they sell at First Reform. It's crazy. And yeah, you can get into the whole idea of churches don't get taxed for being religious property or whatever. And so, all these churches, they just get a shitload of money from donations and shit. And it just seems like they're running a legit business at Abundant Life more than a church. It's you just look at it like, and at one point it has nothing to do with this that I'm talking about specifically, but at one point Ethan Hawke says, "This isn't the church that called me." Something like that. Like this isn't the church I once knew that called me to serve it. Basically saying, this isn't what I signed up for. But it's for something else entirely. But I feel like that could be applied to everything that occurs in this movie. Like, he didn't sign up to be a fucking tour guide. His whole family comes from a lineage of religious people, I believe. Because I know he comes from a line of military people. His father did military stuff. He did military stuff. And then his son is killed in Iraq because he pushes him to do military stuff just like the men before him. But, like, you know, we all have different callings, I guess. And he thought he found his, but it became something else entirely. And then once he gets the ideas into his head of, like, the whole environmental shit and, like, why can't the church do anything to help this? We should be protecting the creation of God. Then, like, then he just sees what religion truly is about, where it's just profiteering. And the thing is, if you compare my talk last week about Unplanned and how I was just shitting on religion and Republicans and pro-lifers like crazy, this time, this film portrays religion extremely well. He never has a question of faith, but rather a question of humanity. He stays true to his belief in God the entire time. Not once does he question it. But he questions the church's role, specifically, in how they're helping others. And that is such a good fucking approach. Because the whole idea of bulk industries being so closely in bed with abundant life, that's really how it is a lot of the time. Like, these major corporations are nestled in with religion. That's why they try to talk in politics about the separation of church and state, but then it's primarily the Republican candidates who are like, oh, God's watching over us. God himself will appoint me president, shit like that. And so it's like, it's just interesting, those connections. I'm just saying, it's primarily Republican folks who are always trying to get the religious folks vote. Anyways, so yeah, this movie's approach to religion makes it seem like Cedric the Entertainer's person is not a bad guy just because he disagrees with Ethan and is like against him in a lot of ways. He's never a bad guy. Like, through the conversations we see, he genuinely wants to help people. Like, the scene after the youth group Reverend Tuller partakes in, and he starts telling Cedric the Entertainer's character about what happened. They're just talking about, like, the state of the world. And it's like, yeah, kids are floating in a wave of pornography and violent video games. It's no wonder they're so lost. It's like, that's the most boomer thing I've ever heard, and that's totally Paul Schrader writing that. That fucking boomer. He couldn't help himself. But there is a point there, just not conveyed the best way. That, like, the youth are so different to who was growing up before. And so then after that, Cedric the Entertainer's talking about, like, we have to figure out a way to reach out to these kids and help out. Like, it seems like everyone's motives in this movie in terms of religion are true. Like, they come from a good place. So religion is portrayed as good here. It is never portrayed as evil. It's just the way of what religion has become, with the whole getting tightly knit with corporations and making the old church a simple gift shop. Like, it's lost its way is more of the argument than religion is bad. No, it's just lost its way. And that is a great fucking approach. Like, this is brilliant. Oh my god, this movie, I can't get enough of it. And I really touched on a lot. Holy shit. I guess I could talk about what I don't like. There's, as I've already mentioned a few times, there's dialogue here and there that's kind of cringy. The pornography and violent video games is one, because that just sounds super boomer. We got my wrist. Sorry. Other one, I mentioned it earlier. What was it? Maybe I didn't. Oh well. The other examples I can think of are Amanda Seyfried. I think she's the worst character in the movie. I just don't care for her. I don't like her. She just doesn't really do anything of significance. She's a good wife to Michael, but like, she's just there. She's very passive. No, okay. Okay. Hey, Reverend, you should see this. She's fine enough. I wouldn't say I don't like her. I just think she could have been way better of a character. She's really just there to push the plot forward, not really someone who has any thoughts. She never has anything interesting to say. God, my hair. Jesus, good God, man. What the fuck is happening? Que chingados. Okay. Whatever. It is what it is. Hopefully you're just listening to the audio version, not seeing my hair. Quite a bit of her dialogue is cringy. It just comes off super... It's not cringy. It comes off super awkward and unnatural. Like, one of her very first lines when she's talking to Reverend Teller about meeting with Michael, she's like, he can't, after the shift at the Home Depot. Nothing irritates me more than when people add the word the in front of something. Oh, the Facebook. The Home Depot. The worst, the absolute worst is the Goodwill. I call it Goodwill, but people call it Goodwill. Like, the way they pronounce it is different. I say Goodwill, they say the Goodwill. Like, they treat it like two different words. I treat it as one. But then the super cherry on top is when they add the Goodwill. Oh, I was just donating some of my Gucci shoes to the Goodwill, and I decided to treat myself to endangered species stink after. I'm so rich. Like, the Goodwill makes you sound like an asshole. So when she said the Home Depot, I went, go fuck yourself. So, some dial, because another reason I wrote in my letterbox review of why First Reformed is a culmination of everything of Paul Schrader's career, I did not mention this podcast. It also includes the best and worst of him. He's gotten pretty bad at making movies in recent years. Dying of the Light is terrible. Sure, you could say, oh, studio meddling. No, it was probably bad as it was. I don't care what you say. Dog Eat Dog, which my professor produced, and so he was telling us stories of trying to get Nicolas Cage and how they weren't paying him up front, so he took a flight back home and they had to stop him like literally a day before shooting, be like, please come back, we'll get the money. And they got it the day before, so he flies back in the morning of the day that shooting started. Shit like that. Like, it's crazy. Paul Schrader, and the reason that they got Paul Schrader to direct that is because he was on there's this thing where it's like a Hollywood blacklist, where if your movie isn't successful, you'll basically be put in this theoretical blacklist where you're not as easy to get hired, and then therefore you'll do lower rate things. Like, you'll be more susceptible to doing way lower budget movies than you normally would. That's like kind of what happened with Nicolas Cage, kinda, except it was more he'll do anything because he needs the money to pay off his debts. But like, that's why sometimes you see like former stars like Gary Busey will show up in fucking anything, it seems like, just because, nobody wants to hire you in major Hollywood, so you have to go to these smaller productions. So anyways, that's how they got Paul Schrader, long story short. The point is, he hasn't had a good run recently until this movie. And this film is very much a product of it. This is the guy who wrote Taxi Driver, but it's also the guy who did Doggy Dog and Dying of the Light. And so you get the cringy dialogue, you get some just weird moments, like when Amanda Seyfried and Ethan Hawke are laying on top of each other and just breathing, but then after a while they start floating, and they're on a shitty green screen, and they're just floating through peaceful places, but then it turns into just pollution and trash and terrible places. I get what the moment was going for, but it doesn't work. You clearly didn't have the budget for it. God bless you for trying. I understand the point of it, but I personally can't think of a way off the top of my head of how to make that scene work, but it just doesn't work, man. It's not a great scene. And really, yeah, that's some cringy dialogue here and there. That scene, that's all I have to complain about, really. Everything else is masterfully done. I guess the last thing I want to talk about, I feel like there's so much more to talk about, but I feel like I've done a really good job at getting what I want out of the way. So I'll just end it with this, that the last thing I want to talk about, god damn, my hair. It's getting worse by the minute. The last thing I want to talk about is the ending. So, everyone I've shown this to, they hate the ending, which is my family. Like, when I showed my mom is the kind of person where she'll watch a movie, and if she doesn't like the ending, it leaves her on a bad note, and therefore will leave her thinking that she doesn't like the whole movie. She's more much about the destination than the journey. And a lot of people are like this. This is a very common way that people interpret movies. That's why it's so important to get the ending right. Because even I'm a victim of this sometimes. It really depends on how bad the ending is. I can't think of anything from the top of my head where it's like the ending is so bad it just ruins everything that came before it. There's definitely examples out there. I just can't think of it. And I guess that's how my mom sees, even if it's not that bad of an ending, if she just doesn't like it, whole movie's a waste of time, garbage, trash. That's what she thought about First Reformed. My dad, when I showed him, he got mad at me. He's like, put it back on. It's not over. I'm like, it is over. I didn't do anything. He's like, oh. You see, my dad's the kind of person who likes to yell at me. I promise you I'm not damaged. But yeah, he just yelled at me. And I'm like, I didn't take it off, though. And then he sees the credits. He's like, oh, I thought you took it off. I'm like, no, why'd you have to yell at me? I'm an innocent little film major boy. Don't hurt me. I'm sensitive and I'll write about you in a script. Fuck. Deep cuts. But yeah, so the actual ending is, of course, Reverend Tuller is gonna blow up the First Reformed with the suit, the bomb vest that Michael had. And this is why he very explicitly tells Amanda Seyfried, hey, maybe don't show up. She's like, why not? Just don't. She's like, She shows up anyways, of course, because she cares. Reverend Tuller's been there for her. It's a good thing that she showed up. But she doesn't know that he's going to blow it up. So that's why he goes, and then he ties that barbed wire around himself, and then drinks the drain cleaner. Yes, he does drink it. We don't see it, but he drank it. Let me explain why. So, as we see it in the movie, we'll go over that first. He's about to drink it, but then Amanda Seyfried's in there, and they kiss, the camera spins, and it feels like this is going on for an eternity. And then it just cuts to black, and it ends. Now, well, let's go over my theory. So, right before, during all this is happening, everyone's like, where's Reverend Tuller? He's supposed to be here. So the lady starts, the one who he had a thing with that works at the church, she just goes up there and starts singing a song that's very repetitive, cyclical, going over and over again. Okay? Very, very important detail. Very repetitive, over and over again. Now, Cedric the Entertainer goes to his house to check in if he's there. He pulls on the handle. The door's locked. And from what we know, that is the only entrance. The only entrance to get to Ethan Hawke is locked. How did Amanda Seyfried get in there? He could have unlocked the window and she could have climbed through it, but highly doubtful. What they show in a movie is equally as important as what they don't show. In this case, what do they show? The door's locked. He can't get in. Therefore, from that, we have to assume Amanda Seyfried can't get in. But she got it. How? Well, that's because Ethan Hawke died when he drank the drain cleaner. He drank the drain cleaner, died, and is now in his version of maybe limbo, purgatory, heaven. Probably heaven, because the song is looping over and over and over again. The kiss, in a way, is looping over and over again. It feels like, because they keep going at it, we keep seeing the same round cyclical motion over and over again until it ends. If movies didn't have to end, I have a feeling that song and that shot would have gone on forever. But it's a fucking movie. It has to end. So it just ends. It cuts. Because when you cut in the middle of something, it's kind of implied that that action is continuously going. So this is his idea of the afterlife. It's just him kissing the woman he loves. I guess he loves her. I don't know. Maybe he's just really into the woman he's really into, while a song loops in the background from the woman he once had a thing with. Interestingly enough, because it could have been the kids' choir singing, but no, it was her that sings. So just all these women in his life. Of course, we never see his ex-wife. So maybe my argument doesn't hold as much weight when you bring that up, but still, my theory still stands that he died, and this is his brain envisioning this in a way. I think it was pretty obvious that it's not real, but I guess my family didn't get that. But what can you do? It is what it is. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the ending. I don't hate it. It's not my favorite ending ever, but I do like the ending. It could have been much better, though. Like, maybe if they made it more overt or in a more clever way showed, yes, he's dead. Because, for example, when he puts the barbed wire around himself, he gets blood on his garments. When he's kissing her, you still see the blood stains. So they do everything in their power to make you believe this is still real, but also giving the hints that it's not. So if they made it much more clear, then it could have a more definitive ending, because there's no point of making this ending ambiguous. You gain nothing from it. So they should have made it more clear, I guess, or done it in a more clever way to show what their true intention with the ending was. And yeah, speaking of the garment, the song that the choir kids show when we first go to Abundant Life is "Are You Washed in the Blood of the Lamb?" Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? His garments are not white as snow. They are covered in his blood in the end. Interesting thought. Because remember, in films, you can't just choose any song from your Spotify playlist and throw it in. You need to take the time to actively choose what's the song you need in your movie, for what purpose, and you have to work very hard to license it and shit a lot of the time. So you can't just choose any song. Just remember that. Whenever you hear a movie and a song, think of why it's there. Also, with television shows, you need to license the rights to be able to use that. The best example I can think of is Popeye in The Wolf of Wall Street. When it's on the screen, he's eating the spinach. He's getting his power. Jordan Belfort, I think he sniffs cocaine, and that's his Popeye spinach. So it's used for comedy. It's used to further the story. Like, for example, what's the movie called? Shane in Logan, when he's watching that Western. There's no more guns in the valley. Like, they use that because X-24, whatever her name was, 23, she uses the line in the ending as payoff. And so just, keep in mind. And a lot of times shows aren't as oh, dude, what the fuck? When did it unplug? Oh, well. Just remember, shows won't always be as straightforward with how they reference the music or show. There's a lot of times where it'll just be playing in the background, but you're focused on the conversation. But in a second viewing, keep in mind what's on the TV. It can be representative of the time period they're in, the kind of household or place, etc. You can learn a lot from what's on TV because you can't just put anything. You have to keep in mind as a filmmaker what is the reason you're putting the things you are in there for. Everything has a purpose in the shot. Even the Starbucks in Game of Thrones, that cup had a purpose. It shows that maybe they didn't care as much. I mean, yeah, everyone makes mistakes, but at the same time, you think somebody would have noticed. Maybe they didn't notice on set, but if you're watching, somebody had to notice, right? Because not just one person watches. I think a lot of people get their eyes on that footage before it goes out, right? So, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Anyways, I'm getting way off track. Long story short, watch your movies closely, and you'll love them as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching. That is today's episode of the Flickitall podcast. Oh, God. My teacher just messaged the group chat. My dad's calling me. Things are getting crazy out here, so I gotta end this stream fast. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the live stream, and if you're not watching the live stream, you're watching the upload of this onto YouTube, then thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe so that you can get the next archive, or if you don't know, I live stream this. I tried to, I'll keep this in mind, this is Thursday afternoon, but the goal is to try to live stream it every Wednesday at midnight. So if you're free from anywhere between Wednesday or Thursday, subscribe to me on twitch.tv/EdgarLomelli11, EDGARLOMELI11, and you can find me live streaming the podcast here, and you can directly interact with me in the chat. Today, since this is a randomly timed stream, I don't even know there's any viewers. I don't think there's any chat, but yeah. Last podcast, I did miss the chat. I didn't see people talking. My bad. The time before was pretty great with interactivity. So yeah, God damn, I don't know what I gotta fix this burp fast. This is terrible. Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, tune into the live stream sometime. Hang out with me. If you're watching this on Twitch, keep doing it, I guess. And if you don't mind, if you just want to leave it playing on YouTube in case you love the episode so much you want to listen again. It'll help me rack up views, and this make me more legitimate. Because I don't get shit for views on this, but I still do it anyways because I may as well keep a consistency, and one day I'll catch on. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.